Hi, a bit of a disclaimer before I start this video. While editing this video, everything surrounding this game went grim and very dark. The lead developer of the Outbound Ghost, Conrad of Conradical Games, has been completely and utterly screwed over by the game's publishers, which is either Digerati or Merge Games. He doesn't necessarily specify. At the end of the video, I have my piece to say about this, and I'd really appreciate if you'd stick around for that. Because it will showcase how scummy the video game world is, and sadly, always will be. That being said, enjoy the video. Taking a seat out in nature like this, breathing in the fresh air, has always been an effective way to think about and process my feelings. Feelings of regret, spite, annoyance, feelings every human being experiences throughout their lifetime. Processing these feelings not only helps me deal with them more adequately, but also turn them around and use them to my strengths in future experiences. But what if you took using these essentially negative feelings to your strengths literally? That's what the Outbound Ghost is all about, as you get to weaponize them in RPG-styled fashion. The Outbound Ghost is an adventure RPG by the indie studio Conradical Games that found a solid amount of traction on social media prior to its release. Teasing bits and pieces of the game in short 1-minute videos showed off the game's beautiful Paper Mario-inspired characters and animations, roaming around in a beautifully designed 3D world, with the gameplay consisting of fighting some goofball monsters in turn-based battles that looked nothing but exciting. The hype build-up around its release even managed to reach and excite me through my Twitter feed, someone that's never even played a Paper Mario game. The perfectly chosen clips, the marketing, the opportunity for anyone with a YouTube channel to apply for a review copy, this thing had all the ingredients to be a huge success and function as a stepping stone into the gaming market for Conradical Games. But as optimal as the build-up was, in the end, it's the product that has to live up to the expectations. And yeah, it sadly seems to have failed at accomplishing just that. But do I, a video game enthusiast and part-time hipster, share this general public opinion? Of course not. I really like this game. The Outbound Ghost takes place in the peaceful town of Outbound, a place where everyone minded their own business, a place where everyone lived in harmony. A place one would want to spend their days. That is, until everyone collectively died. A serial killer murdered everyone for reasons unknown, and the rest of the inhabitants have died of the sickness from the swamp poisoning the water supply, with them respawning as these adorable paper ghosts. Including you, the player, in fact. After world's most rushed intro that contains the only voice acting in the entire game,
The folks there kept themselves to themselves.
you spawn in on the outskirts of Outbound as this little guy, an amnesiac ghost devoid of all memory. Uncertain who you are, where you are, or what happened to you and this world, you then wander through the town only to find out everyone else died as well. However, the ghosts roaming around the world do not represent the entire population. Some of them have ascended to the peaceful afterlife, and the ones returning to Outbound as ghosts have done so because they have a burden that needs to be resolved before they can ascend as well. The questions surrounding your own existence, what happened to everybody in Outbound, and most importantly, who's behind this tragedy, are questions that need to be answered. So, of course, you, the player, are the one that embarks on a journey to find all the answers. Answers our little spooky friend has to work for, because there are tons of apparitions attempting to hinder your journey as any ill-intended individual would, by challenging you to turn-based battles. Turn-based battles in which you fight apparitions by using your feelings, aka figments of the self, to confront even more feelings in your deepest memories and unshackle yourself
from your past,
making sad feelings from your deepest memories available as usable figments. Every figment you obtain has different perks and shortcomings corresponding with what they stand for. Callousness having a major defense stat corresponding with the state of being emotionally hardened, Solitude being a heavy hitter with paper thin defense representing the state of being strong on your own, and a figment like Annoyance doing what I'm personally very good at. Annoy the enemies with status inflicting moves that hinder the enemy endlessly. Not to mention the cool little detail at the very beginning of the game as well, with the game handing you the first figment in regret for free during your first battle, hinting at something regrettable the little ghost you're playing as has done before they became an amnesiac. Other than that, the game is a pretty standard RPG. Turn-based battles where the order is decided by the character's speed stat, a timing gauge that varies per move type, and lots of gimmicks, moves and power-ups to be a strategical mastermind with. And of course there's the ability to dash into enemies to give you that one turn flinch advantage. Nah, for real, even though the game does nothing I haven't seen before, it all culminates into gameplay I thoroughly enjoyed for the 17 hours I spent on it. So you enter these battles with a party of up to 4 figments, aka the magic RPG party number. They all differ in HP, power, defense, speed, SP aka mana to use your skill moves with, and they all got a healing stat as well, which to no one's surprise determines how much HP a healing move heals. The only thing out of the ordinary here is the character's AP stat, that functions as a turn build up type of move. By pressing the AP option, you don't just take 50% less damage for the duration of the turn cycle, but you're also able to stack up move turns to your advantage. So once an enemy is in a more vulnerable position because of a status effect or stat decrease, you can do multiple turns of damage all at once. Thus, having characters with a high AP stat is rather valuable if you are able to efficiently make use of it. Which isn't me. The stats and moves can then be strengthened and or expanded upon by crafting and equipping these neat little badges, also known as aspects in this game. By gathering resources from houses, chests and random patches of grass, or receiving them as a random drop upon winning a battle, you're able to craft and equip up to 3 power-ups per character. Not before the game makes you feel like shit though, as the game lets you unlock said power-ups by choosing one of the two available themed sets of them and locking you out of the other set. Forever. Yeah, some of this shit is pretty fucking ass. I fuck with this moderately evil choice system though, about as much as I fuck with the aspect system, the move system, and their synergy as a whole. As for the aspects, there's of course the more standard stuff like percentual power and defense boosts, or having a miss timing result in lower damage rather than a miss. But the high risk, high reward aspects are where it's at. Gaining 10% power and mana at the cost of 10% of your HP. 25% power if you hit the perfect timing at the cost of any other timing, resulting in a miss. And 15% HP at the cost of half of your mana. The trade-offs are risky, but very much worth it if applied to characters that won't be affected all too much by whatever stat reduction the aspect brings about. The aspects even go as far as expanding a character's moveset beyond the boundaries of their gimmicks. Callousness over here functions as nothing but a big damage punch. A fucking rock. Only ever learning skill moves that share his HP, redirects damage to itself, or being able to hand out a defense boost. But thanks to the aspects, even this boulder can stand its ground when it comes to the offense. Applying major poison to an enemy, freezing them for 2 turns, launching a multi-hit with a random chance of a power boost per hit. The idea of being able to make use of a character beyond their gimmicks by enabling aspects to add additional moves and status effects is pretty damn cool, if you ask me. Not that the moves necessarily needed that cool little addition, as the available arsenal more than satisfied me anyway. Between in-damage varying single and multi-hit moves, variable timings per move, hitting set timing affecting damage output, and moves that poison, burn, freeze, or make the enemies die by cutting themselves on a bunch of leaves, what's there not to love about the moves available? There's even this Mimicry move that's unlocked by beating a certain story fight. This move will straight up transform the figment using it into whatever enemy it's copying. And yeah, this even works on boss fights. Oh! The moves and aspects are creative, diverse, and fun as hell to experiment with. Not to mention the pacing preventing the game from ever becoming dull or repetitive. You unlock new moves by level up and are presented with life-altering choices to unlock new or upgraded versions of aspects at a pretty frequent rate, and with the battles being over in the blink of an eye, the gameplay never really has the chance to become uninteresting. Where crafting the moves, aspects, and squadron for that matter kept me interested, the apparitions you then use the squadron against only further amplify this feeling. They are fun and challenging to go up against, even on the normal difficulty I played on, because I fucking suck at video games. With them actually showing some tactical teamwork and their stupid little smoke and wind cutter gimmicks making life a miserable hell at times. Just when you start figuring things out, the game will slowly but surely introduce new enemies with new gimmicks, while filtering out the others at a pace that's about as satisfying as the moves and aspects. The battles are just genuinely kept very interesting throughout the entire game. In every fight you have to carefully determine who to target with what figment based on the set of enemies presented to you. You'll have to figure out which enemies cause the most hindrance to your squad or aid their teammates in such a significant way that your attacks and or attempts at healing are almost nullified. Which, in combination with the rotating enemies, prevented the encounters from becoming a chore to plow through. After the first couple of hours, you truly come to understand how annoying layered status effects like poison and burn can be, and how the quote-unquote hard hitters should, funnily enough, be taken care of last. Near the end of the game, the fights even properly make use of the stunning function, which is this yellow bar that fills up a varying amount upon landing a successful hit, based on move and or enemy type. The function is completely negligible for most of the game, but at some point the enemies do more harm than you can heal. And thus you have to tactically use this stunning function, as it doesn't just skip their turn, but makes hits do double damage. This finally made me consciously use the AP function as well, as saving up your turns to both fill up the stun bar and make use of them being stunned was suddenly not a luxury, but a must. And then I even found myself resetting fights a handful of times because of wrong targeting, team building, and letting the stun double damage go to waste, finding my own team on life support as soon as I took 1 out of 3 enemies down. The gameplay is fun, challenging, rewarding, diverse, and between the life-altering move choices, collecting materials to craft said moves, dozens of figments with their own little gimmicks to choose from, and the enemy pacing, tactical movesets, team structures, and whatnot, this game is nothing but an excellent RPG that I'd recommend to anybody interested in this genre. Or is it? The Outbound Ghost is built like a house of cards, hanging on for its dear life. I genuinely mean everything I've said so far. I truly enjoyed this game and would happily play through it again if I'd have any reason to. But the game, in its current state, is below any sort of quality standard in the world of video games. It's like they were so excited to finally finish the game that they forgot to playtest it in the process, resulting in bugs and a lack of polishing that ranges from minor inconveniences to borderline disrupting the gameplay. There are spelling mistakes to be found in a handful of cutscenes and descriptions, text boxes appearing partly off-screen, certain animations causing lag spikes, but on a grander, a more impactful scheme of things is where the Outbound Ghost truly drops the ball. I'm a controller player. Having all buttons easily available, a more comfortable position for my arms, being able to sit further away from the screen, shit's my preferable way to plow through games. The Outbound Ghost has controller support, but yeah, it doesn't work. The game has this funny little lockpicking mechanic where you have to move some bolts around to open a door, which is introduced like, I don't know, 3 minutes into the playthrough. And yeah, the entire thing just malfunctions, leaving me unable to select and move anything. The controller support hampering no more than 5 minutes into the game is about as disappointing as it is easily preventable. But okay, no problem, I guess. I'll play the game as intended. So let me just... And then... Well, at least the game works as intended now. Well, except for when you have to give your character a name, that is. My name is not Sander. The funniest thing about all of this is that they tried to be slick by allowing you to change your name in this town, under the guise of not getting stuck with an unwanted name, with all of it working this time around, of course. But playing devil's advocate here, I just can't help but suspect them circumventing a coding issue with an easier to develop solution. Digging deeper into the rabbit hole, you'll find mistakes that find its origin way earlier in the development process and are much less insignificant than gameplay requiring a bug fix. There's Deaspecting, which lets you dismantle aspects at the cost of the material used to build them, aside from the aspect gem, which is the only material required for every single one of them. However, you can only de-aspect all or none. No in between. Meaning you'll also lose the 12 aspects and their materials you're actively using, not only resulting in losing more materials than used to rebuild them, but also a massive time waste in remembering which character had what aspect and then rebuilding and equipping them. Shit should have had a single aspect dismantle option to get rid of unnecessary aspects, since all there's left right now is a disappointing and pointless feature that is never worth using. In the battles, however, you'll find out how something cool and useful can easily be turned into something underwhelming. The characters will learn moves like Wind Cutter, Curse, Bolt and whatnot, but oftentimes these moves don't have their intended effect, as the AI has been made smart enough to circumvent such effects and or having a character defend an ally. Oh, you're defending an ally? Fine, I'll just attack the other characters. A bolt effect that will make me take damage upon using a status move? Fine, I'll just attack then. A curse effect that will make healing do damage instead? Okay, fine, I will literally use anything else. And then there's the Mimicry ability, which could have been the coolest move in the game, but does absolutely fuck all, as even the most basic moves cost 60 mana when the character has a mana bar of 70. The AI has infinite mana, but you don't, and with the nifty little feature of not being able to change back to your regular old self, you're relegated to the basic attack pretty much instantly, ruining the whole point of copying and using the enemy movesets and abilities. But even outside of the RPG system, there's a lot of room for improvement. The game's got a bunch of cool-ass towns with shops, residences, railroads, and anything you can think of, complete with dozens of NPCs with unique, goofy dialogue and everything with a door being enterable, leading to even more NPCs, materials, and stylish interiors that look nothing but gorgeous, with their little chairs, beds, and papers illuminated by cozy torchlighting. Genuinely, some of the coolest town designs many games could learn a thing or two from. But where in God's name is the rest? With me fanboying over the endless crafting table that is an RPG, I almost fail to realize how empty and lifeless the overworld can be. You'll make your way through a plethora of environments, climbing hills, mountains, stairs and whatnot, with the camera angle making it seem all the more impressive. But the truth is, there is nothing to do within them. Just empty, decorated hallways that serve the purpose of gathering materials and leveling up your squad for the hard as fuck boss battles. Hallways in which you go from enemy to save point to enemy until you reach the next town or cutscene. Sadly, none of this is by design either, nor are the mechanics engaging enough to make up for how empty the vast majority of these areas can really be. Something a game like Soul Trigger was actually able to make work due to its core design, cool and engaging mechanics, and above all, its touching story. Which is something this game doesn't have either. The premise is great. Ooh, a serial killer. A poisoned swamp potentially done by said serial killer. Burdens to resolve. An amnesia ghost full of regret. That all, sadly, lead to nowhere. In the first couple of hours, you figure out nobody else is able to see these figments for whatever reason. That is, until you meet Adrian. He is suffering from the same amnesia and he is actually able to see figments, just like yours truly. But before you even get the chance to speak to him about all of this, he is big angry and he just books it for the entirety of the game. It truly and unironically comes down to the most annoying and overused phrase in video game reviews.
A wild goose chase.
Adrian books it. You find him, he runs. You find him again. He tries to kill you by throwing you off a cliff. You survive being thrown off a cliff, beat the chapter, switch characters for the sake of backstory, find Adrian with a new character. He runs. You get the point. All of this while doing mini goose chases within the big goose chase, where you find a girl that wandered into a mine or find grandpa that stole a valuable item. It answers questions with more questions. And then, suddenly, it all just ends before you know anything about anything. And switching characters per chapter doesn't even do anything either. Not even a new figment or anything. Just a bunch of plot holes patched with unrelated information and more plot holes. Though getting to experience Adrian's perspective of the same story you've already sat through, but backwards, would pan out to be pretty cool. I'll have to give it that, I guess. But the game is built like a house of cards, consisting of questionable ideas and lackluster features. But it's a house of cards that never collapses. Even though you have no idea what you're fighting for, the fights themselves are competitive, tactical, and above all, a shit ton of fun. Juggling different characters, aspects, and movesets around, trying to find the most effective strategies, adapting to whatever new shit a new enemy does on the fly. Not once did I feel uninterested, even though it does run out of steam and becomes a little too easy when it comes to the normie ass enemies towards the end. Besides, Deaspecting isn't necessary, as your inventory is seemingly unlimited. The Mimicry aspect can simply be discarded and ignored, and the status effects will at least hinder an enemy from using their most powerful ability. I guess. Leaving what I'd consider a fun-ass action-adventure RPG. It's a ton of fun wandering around, talking to NPCs, scavenging resources to continuously build and upgrade your team with for the fun as fuck battles. And even though the areas feel like nothing but empty, open-ended hallways towards the next cutscene, it's slightly made up for by the inclusion of hidden paths that lead to items or hidden obtainable figments that make exploring every path a little more interesting. Like half of them are locked behind story events that will give you the tools to enter them, ranging from a torch to light a pattern, to breaking rocks with a shield, to actually teleporting. With all of the hidden paths being readily accessible by fast traveling upon collecting an area's map somewhere in said area. At least it gave me something more to do than pressing W in combination with the dash move to head over to the next story event. Guided by the beautiful visuals and excellent soundtrack, all of this is worth doing as well, as the aesthetic they create is something I'm very much a big fan of. The Paper Mario characters in a 3D world style is executed very well, without anyone or anything ever looking out of place. If anything, they reinforce each other really. Seeing the paper figures and their various facial expressions roam around in these 3D environments drenched in warm and beautiful lighting, shit does put a smile on my face, resulting in picture-worthy moments like this, and this. Like, look at how this little guy closes its eyes as the torch lights up. And the way the lighting then falls over the bench, the carpet, and stored swords. Shit's absolutely gorgeous. Almost as gorgeous as the soundtrack, which is easily the best game OST since I played Grimm's Hollow about 14 months ago. You got your funky upbeat tunes, you got your spooky, eerie Halloween tunes. And what's a game like this without some cozy and calm feel-good music? There isn't a single track that doesn't hit, both in terms of overall sound and placement in the game, which makes the soundtrack being non-existent on both YouTube and Spotify even more sad, if I'm being honest. I would love to have that available to use in future videos. Shit just rules. The Outbound Ghost is a game that has a lot to improve on if it ever wants to be taken seriously. But it doesn't deserve the amount of hate that's present all over the internet. It's hate fueled by disappointment and unmet expectations that came with it going semi-viral on social media, which in turn over-exaggerates how terrible this game really is. Because it isn't. The game's got some key issues, bad ideas, but shit's still fun. We live in a time where every gamer is the spoiled rich kid, and the small negatives somehow seem to outweigh the bigger positives. Just look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet getting the finger from everybody, while giving us the best gameplay Pokemon's had in fucking forever. I don't know, man, it just makes me sad. Games can be fun and also have issues at the same time. One doesn't exclude the other. But many seem to have forgotten just that. The Outbound Ghost is a flawed experience, with bad ideas and a non-existent story, but for an indie company making their first game in what I hope to be a series, shit's a decent start. Learn from the gripes players have got with this game, write an actual meaningful story, and possibly push the boundaries of what an RPG system like this can be. And I think you got yourselves a cool ass fucking sequel that I'd happily play and review as well. I certainly hope the reception doesn't kill their motivation, cause that would be nothing but unfortunate. The Outbound Ghost is a foundation worth building upon. And this is where the video was supposed to end. However, during the editing of this video, the Outbound Ghost lead developer, Conrad of Conradical Games, posted some concerning messages on the game's official Twitter account. On December 1st, a day after the game had been shipped to PS4, PS5 and Switch, he posted an explanation about how bad the game was in its current state and how he never approved this version of the game to come out. It released on PS4, PS5 and Nintendo Switch, and while the PS4 and PS5 version just were a little bit unstable, the Switch version was unplayable, laggy as hell, and had a fucking 0.7 seconds of input delay, which makes the game unplayable. All released without his approval. Then, only a few days after, shit got even worse. The publisher, which is Digerati Games, had then, after releasing a shitty shovelware version of his game, put the game on sale, without his approval and or permission, just 6 days after its last sale. And thus, this poor guy had to put out an explanation again about how fucking horrible the publishers were treating him. Then, he posted another update, a 1 minute and 46 seconds video, where he explains shit has hit the fan. The publisher had cut all contact with him, and he in no way can access any relevant pages regarding the game. And he even added the problems listed on this Twitter account so far were far from all the problems surrounding this game. This guy has been completely and utterly fucked by publishers, which sadly is way too common in the video game world. And I'm just over here both praising his game but also being relatively critical and long-winded for entertainment purposes. And putting out this video feels wrong almost, like I'm criticizing a guy that's being fucked over by publishers. He can't access any pages anymore. He isn't in control of the sales. He isn't in control over fucked up shovelware pieces of shit laggy versions being released to the general public, thus ruining his image as a game developer. In response, Digerati then put out a very shallow statement in which they play the victim. They're saying a bunch of bullshit like, "We provided him with funds so he could work on this full time and achieve his dreams," about how they want the best version of the game to come out, only to then proceed to blame Conrad for everything, claiming he terminated the contract and used her husband's recent death as a means for terminating it. And then she also blames him for tampering with the Steam page and trying to take down the console version. To me, it all seems like a bunch of deflecting and victim blaming, when they even claim in this very video that they have the full licensing rights, which means they released the shitty version. They did this. They basically ruined this guy's fucking image. And the only thing this video excuses is them funding the thing for the full licensing rights, which means putting the game on sale is something Conrad has no control over. Other than that, this video, to me, is a bunch of bullshit. Of course, my judgment could be wrong, and this video is gonna age like milk if I am. But to me it just seems like a very weak attempt at damage control. I hesitated to even put this video out because I feel so bad for this guy. The Outbound Ghost legit is a very good start for a young, aspiring and talented developer like this guy. You're just trying to make your dreams come true and everything looks sunny and it looks like you're actually doing something in the world of video games. You're actually achieving success, only to be smacked down into a hellhole that is the publisher control. You give up everything for money and certainty that it will be released to the public and good advertisement and all that shit, but then it's out of your control and it's so fucked. He's taking it to court, I think. He's at least taking legal action. And currently, as I'm recording this, it's been 24 hours since the video. And right now, the Steam page says this game is no longer authorized by the developer. And thus you can't purchase it anymore. So the fact that you can't purchase the game anymore and it's completely off of Steam, it tells me that at least something positive is happening and that he's somehow taking back control of his game. I hope he wins this legal battle somehow. I hope the Outbound Ghost gets the version he wanted to release to the public. I genuinely hope that if he somehow sees this video that he doesn't take it personally. I fucking love the game, I hope he keeps going, and whatever he does next I'm purchasing it just because of what he's going through right now. Like he even says it in this video, he's been incredibly stressed and you can tell by his face, and I don't know, I can't even get myself to be to be happy. It's not my game. I don't know this guy, and yet I feel so fucking bad for this guy. Because it's a young guy chasing his dreams, and it's basically taken away from him by fucking stupid ass developers, ruining his name and or image. I hate the video game world. I really do.